I would go to Booker on the weekend before I went back to school with my dad, and I'd spend 50 quid and turn that into 200. I think I always had that entrepreneurial spirit of wanting to do something, and I was meeting startups who knew that video first content was the way to go. So we were sort of at the forefront of that change in marketing, of brands wanting to be out there online, and so we saw a niche.
What does it take to turn a creative partnership into a successful agency? Today on All About Business, I'm joined by Gregory Nice and Jack Stanton, co-founders of Nice Productions, a creative agency that's evolved from independent filmmaking into delivering major campaigns for global brands.
COVID was a big killer of a lot of companies and brands that worked in our space, and the writer strikes in America, that massively affected all the cast and crew who are working in the UK. So it kind of had a knock-on effect.
These new technologies coming in.
Is another thing that I think has affected a lot of companies in this space.
I mean, this is a crowded space, so there are lots of people making content. How do you stand out? How do you stay relevant? Welcome to All About Business with me, James Reed, the podcast that covers everything about business, management, and leadership. Every episode, I sit down with different guests who've bootstrapped companies, masterminded investment models, or built a business empire. They're leaders in their field, and they're here to give you top insights and actionable advice so that you can apply their ideas to your own career or business venture. Well, today on All About Business, I'm really delighted to welcome not one guest, but two. I have in the studio today with me Gregory Nice and Jack Stanton from Nice Productions. Thank you both for coming in.
Thanks for having us. Nice
Productions is a London-based creative agency that basically makes ads and other forms of communications. I know them well because they've done a lot of work for Reed in the past, so to declare that right up front. And we'll be talking a bit about that in the course of our conversation. But their work spans TV, digital, radio, cinema, outdoor media, and short-form narratives. And I'm acutely aware that lots of young people especially want to get into sort of creative industries. You, Gregory, actually did that. You started this company in 2011. How did that happen? What was your sort of origin story?
Well, starting it in 2011 is when I registered the name Nice Productions, but I wouldn't say we actually launched properly until 2015, 2016, when Jack came on full time. Before that, I was working in film and TV as a production assistant all the way through to then being a production manager by the time that I stopped doing it professionally. And I was working on ads and I was working on TV shows, but at the same time on the weekend, I was making content for startup brands and friends' companies and music videos and everything else that you do when you're sort of a young filmmaker just starting out. And at the same,
so to be rude, how old were you in 2011?
20.
So you were literally starting out in your working life.
Yeah.
You got a job.
Yeah.
So, as an assistant.
Yeah, exactly.
But you'd also set up a company. I mean, that shows some sort of imagination, I would say. I mean,
well,
you had a side hustle.
Yeah, no, well, I'd always been that person who, throughout school, I had the secret tuck shop, like, under my desk.
Well, you were a wheeler dealer.
Yeah,
type,
you know, I would go to Booker on the weekend before I went back to school with my dad, and I'd spend 50 quid and turn that into 200. So I'd always wanted, I think I always had that entrepreneurial spirit of wanting to do something. And at the same time, I was really into theatre and very much into movies. And I always wanted to move into more of a creative space. And so when I finished university, it was kind of, my career trajectory was sort of, because I did English literature, was become a lawyer or go into film and TV. And I knew that film and TV is what I wanted to do. And so I did that, for 3 or 4 years, working my way up.
Was your dad pleased you didn't become a lawyer or not?
He honestly, he is not something.
He was relaxed.
I think he loves film as well. So he was quite positive that I was moving into something that he thought was pretty cool, to be honest.
Oh, so it wasn't something imposed from your family, the law idea.
No, my grandfather was a lawyer, and he was.
Oh,
I enjoyed talking with him and having arguments around the Christmas dinner. But
right.
and I thought that was something I wanted to do. But also my love of film was, once I finished university, I decided that was something I wanted to pursue more. And at the same time, Jack was working as a was studying as a video artist, and then working as a video artist. And so our skills there was just a good collaboration. And as I was saying, like over on the weekends, we were making other projects for other people. And in the evening, I was going to lots of startup events like Escape the City, Silicon Roundabout, and I was meeting startups because I was both a
So
startup.
this was in London.
This was in London, yeah. And at the time, the startup community was massive. I'm not so involved in it anymore, but that was a way to meet new brands and who knew that video first content was the way to go. Social first video was the way to go to build their brands. And so we were sort of at the forefront of that change in marketing of social media, video first, brands wanting to be out there online. And so we saw a niche, and after 3 or 4 years of both working full time and then also creating content in the evenings, weekends, whenever I had time, come about 2015 and 16, I stopped working as a production manager and decided to pursue Nice Productions full time, which also perfectly coincided with Jack finishing his university career and working as a video artist and coming on and working with us.
Well, that's a good segue to you, Jack. So you started out in visual arts and video, as Gregory just described. So what attracted you to Nice Productions? Why did you decide that you were going to join Gregory? What happened?
Well, I mean, so I went to art school and mostly did video, some performance-based stuff. So it was a skill that I developed, but in a much more sort of open, creative sense. And I think it was maybe my second year onwards that we actually started working together in the holidays.
And also bear in mind, Jack's a student and I was earning some money at
Yeah,
this point. So it was a
yeah.
good way for him to earn some money on the weekend.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was a skill I could apply. And obviously, I mean, working with an old friend, I mean, I'm not sure if we've actually said that Greg and I have known each other for a very long time, since we were 13.
No, you haven't said that. That's going to be my next question. How did you meet? So you were school friends or something?
Yeah.
So you were school friends and you got going and then you saw this. So are you now partners? Is that how this is organized? Or
Yeah.
Equal partners?
Yeah.
50-50, is it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's good. So
although it is, Nice Productions, there's a bit of a sore spot there that it was.
Well, the company was started by you, I guess,
Yeah,
Gregory,
exactly.
So, and it's quite a good name,
I
isn't
thought
it?
it was
It's
quite
an
a fun
excellent name.
Yeah. So yeah, and generally speaking, I think it's memorable to clients as well. So we've had conversations about it in the past, but ultimately we've always come back around to wanting to stick to it. And we're having that conversation right now again, because we're now thinking about moving away from Nice Productions and moving to Nice and just being Nice rather than Nice Productions, because we have moved away from just being a video first production company to being a more full service creative agency over the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
And so we don't want to be specific to production. So
People use the word nice a lot, don't they? Go nice, So, but isn't that already sort of widely registered and applied in other business situations?
Yeah, but it's my name, so that allows you a lot of leeway in being able to use it, because in the way that like Nice, the drug company.
The drug evaluation.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they could sue me for using the word nice.
No, I don't think they could.
Because it's my name.
Yeah, so you should probably double down on that then,
yeah.
Gregory.
A multi-billion-pound drug testing company and see what
grateful
happens.
to your parents for giving you this name.
Yeah,
well, it's very
exactly.
memorable. It works, and especially in a space where you're trying to create cut through for people.
Exactly. And we like it as an ethos as well.
Yeah.
Not just
you should be nice to deal with.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And that is something we hear a lot.
A name to live up to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's right. What were you going to say, Jack?
That is something we hear a lot. I think, especially in film production, there is a bit of a kind of a culture of, what would you call it? Sort of,
it's just a bit sticky, isn't it?
Bit sticky, bit kind of inaccessible. People like to play with all the kind of fancy gear and set up like barriers between the people making the work and who they're working with. Which has just never been something that we've done.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of thinking about changing the name just to Nice, you're actually changing your sort of approach as well. I'm hearing sort of widening the number of possible business lines you might offer.
Exactly.
Talk me through that a bit. What's in your mind?
Well, quite honestly, a big part of this comes down to our relationship with Reed, because prior to working with you, we were video and photography. So, you know, a lot of our campaigns were video with, and then also with a sort of subsidiary of photography. So it'd be video first, then there might be a photography campaign to support it. But working with Reed was the first time that we actually had multi-channel. So it wasn't just video and photography. You also asked for the photography to be out of home. So that is an extension of the photography part of the work that we were doing previously, but there's much more involved technically in delivery, in deliverables, and working with, you know, the media agencies and the media buyers, which was something we hadn't really done before. And then also you asked for radio, which, to be completely honest, we'd never done before. So we were very happy to learn how to do that. And now it's something that we offer to clients quite a lot. And like online audio ads especially seem to be something that people are pushing towards more and more. And a lot of the people we work for now are asking us to do Spotify ads for them, which is great because it's fun creatively and it's relatively cost effective for brands to do. For us to write a script and then to record a 30-second ad is not the same as a TV ad, which is £250,000. You know, it's like, and more. It's you know, a tenth of that easily.
No, I love radio for that reason.
Yeah,
Greg.
exactly.
So this is interesting to me because, you know, we wanted a campaign that was multimedia, that would reach people in different ways depending on what they were doing. So radio, out of home, video, TV, all of those are important channels, as well as social media. So you're in a sense adapting your business model to meet your customer halfway in terms of offering that service, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But it's also a bit of a chicken and egg situation. Is that I feel as though previously, because we didn't have the experience of doing those things, to doing the multi-channel, it wasn't something that we would sort of actively push or promote. But now that we have the experience of doing it, it's something that we can then actively promote. So, you know, a brand previously might come to us and say, we have this, you know, social media campaign that we want to put out across Instagram and YouTube, and we want pre-roll ads, but we also want branded content, and with it photography. Great, that's absolutely something to do. But now when they come to us, we can say, have you had a think about an out-of-home campaign, or have you thought about an additional radio campaign? Because, you know, you're already spending X amount of money on the video campaign, which is the most expensive, and the video and the photography, which also can be expensive, but less so. But then here are these other channels that are you thinking about, because we can support you in creating them. And in some ways, they're the most cost-effective of all the channels that you're talking about. So it'd be a shame not to be having that conversation with you just because you're coming to us because we were a video first social agency, and now we're sort of a video first creative agency, but trying to push all the other channels.
Yeah, I can see how that would have evolved from.
Yeah. And we're very grateful that, you know, Reed gave us the opportunity to do that.
In this podcast, we'll include a couple of ads, and we'll make sure they're ads made by you guys, so people can evaluate your work.
Catch me smiling when you look my way. Yeah, I'm back on course now. It's a whole new day. Now I love Mondays. Mondays are working for me. I can be the person that I wanna be. Now that I'm certain my Mondays are working for me.
Find a job you'll love at read.co.uk. So Jack, over to you. How do you divide this work up? It sounds like you have a good collaboration.
Greg's the brains, I'm the muscle. That's pretty much it.
What's that mean?
No. So I mean, I'll walk you through it. So, you know, every project has like a cycle. So at first you've got to come up with an idea. You know, we're both across that. We figure that out together. Then once we've got the budget together, we enter into pre-production and production. Greg is much more on top of the logistics, keeps an eye on the money, whereas I stay more on the creative. when it comes to direction on the day, we are both we're co-directing, but Greg's a little more. If you looked around on set, you'd say that he's the director. You know, he's a little better at barking orders at people. I might be by a monitor or working with whoever's actually.
So you're
on
more
screen.
the art director, are you?
Yeah, I'm officially creative director. Yeah. And then on the post end, that's where I take over more and oversee everything that comes in post.
So you mean post-production?
Yeah.
And what is everything that comes in post? What are you talking about?
Editing, music, color, all the sort of nitty gritty of deliverables, various formats.
Yeah, and you've also, over the years have also become quite savvy in the media delivery side as well.
Yeah.
You I think because you've run most of the post-production side, then because you're creating the deliverables, you then also become the person who then has to communicate how those deliverables are put across all the channels, whether or not it's on social or on TV or radio, wherever it is. Jack's the one who's communicating with Clearcast and all the other agencies that you have to speak to about getting permissions and sharing the scripts to make sure that they pass.
That's a sort of area that people may be unaware of, but you have to get ads approved. Tell me about that. How does that work? You mentioned Clearcast.
Again, this is Jack, because
Okay, Jack, tell me about
Jack
that.
handles this for me. Or for us.
Well, very simply, scripts have to be signed off that they don't contain anything that is problematic in any way. So you submit ahead of time, you get it checked in a kind of preliminary way. But then once you've actually produced the ad, that then has to get checked.
But you're talking about radio and TV.
Radio and TV, yeah.
But you can put a poster up pretty much without anyone checking it, can't you?
Yeah. That tends to sail through.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Which is strange, which is not something I've thought an awful lot
and
about.
social is also a bit of the Wild West as well. Like, I think it's still people do get pulled up by the ears of the ASA about their social media posts, like you sort of things that you have to say it's an ad if you're being paid for it. These
influencers
and stuff.
They're
like
meant
that.
to say that, but often they don't.
But yeah, they're meant to, and they don't, and so they do get pulled up. But it is, as I say, it's still
months later, and no one knows they've been pulled up.
Exactly, and then at that point, the ad spend's already gone, and it's already had its millions of views, and then.
So I was really bad at Latin at school, but I remember the words caveat emptor, buyer beware.
Yeah,
and they still apply. And so if you're buying something, don't rely on the Advertising Standards Agency.
Yeah.
You need to be sure for yourself, I always think.
Yeah.
But it's good, I suppose, that these extra checks are in place. Sometimes they can be a bit frustrating when you want to use a bit of creative license, can't they, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've ever had a problem with the creative. They tend to be quite lenient, but it might be on details like it's the T's and C's that we're often figuring out with Reed. And that can get a little bit last minute sometimes to make sure all the boxes are ticked.
T's and C's, terms and conditions.
Yeah.
It's the same with, it's sort of the same with all our clients. It's like, they just get very sticky about if you're saying that you're the biggest or the best and you're putting a number in or however you want to sort of push or promote your brand as in those sort of ways, then they push back and say, how are you the biggest? How are you the best? And then you have to prove it or disprove it either way. And that can get a little bit complicated. So then you have to change the wordage to fit the campaign.
So from your point of view as Nice Productions, whichever it is, I mean, this is a crowded space. So there are lots of people making content, lots of people doing what you do. How do you stand out and how do you stay relevant?
I mean, that honestly is the $1 million question right now, and is something that Jack and I discuss pretty much all the time, especially as we're in what I would consider a growth period again. It's been a nice gradual incline, and we would obviously like it to incline further. But I honestly don't feel like I specifically have an answer because there are so many people doing it, but we've also seen a lot of other agencies drop off when we haven't. And it's not been the easiest period of time, I think, across the board for any business to start and run a business in the UK from when we finished university to now, from the general global political climate that's happened in our lifetime, and especially things like COVID. COVID was a big killer of a lot of companies and brands that worked in our space. They just, I guess, didn't have the capital to survive that. And we were really lucky. And I think because we have a really good relationships with lots of the companies we work with, and I think one of our big skill sets is our post-production, we were able to offer to a lot of our clients additional post-production work so that they could keep they needed content. And obviously we'd been shooting them for years, so we were able to remix and reevaluate what it was that we had to be able to put out new content in the world over that period of time. So we were still getting paid, but I know from other people in the world, they really struggled. And then post that, there's been a big knock-on effect in the content creation world from the film and proper film and TV world, where because of the writers' strikes and the writers' strikes in America, that massively affected all the cast and crew who are working in the UK. So it kind of had a knock-on effect whereby the people who were working in TV and film and working in everyone just sort of had to scale down. So then there was a lot more people who let's say you were a cinematographer working in TV. TV's completely gone. So you're now reaching out to your network of commercial production companies like us and saying, do you have work? So now you have big name cinematographers who are happy to be doing social media content because there's no other work in that system. So it was kind of a knock-on effect that then the bottom end of it was then falling away. But I think, again, we were just fortunate to be in the position that we have really good relationship with our clients and who we've worked with for years and years and years, and people like you and some of the fashion brands we work with who, want to do 2 campaigns a year with us, that we were able to survive that as well. We weren't knocked off the bottom by people coming down. So
this
it's been interesting.
This writers' strike you referred to, started in America. I mean, that was a response to the dangers of AI, wasn't it? In part.
Yeah. I mean, I think
so. These new technologies coming in,
exactly. Yeah, which again is
disruption.
Is another thing that I think has affected a lot of companies in this space.
In what way?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, even with us, we were recently approached to create some content for a quite a big corporate with their senior management team, where they wanted us to go in, and they had basically created these scripts in relationship with an AI company to speak for 45 minutes. So I probably shouldn't tell you this in case you get an idea. To speak for 45 minutes, and then the AI company was basically promising that after you'd been filmed in this multi-camera setup for 45 minutes, you would never have to speak on camera again. They could take that 45 minutes of footage and they could use it in perpetuity to make you say whatever you wanted to say. So you could just send them a script saying, okay, let's say, I know, for example, you speak a lot in the press and on TV about the current state of the employment in the UK. So what they would say is you could do a weekly outreach of talking about the current economy, the current employments in the UK, and you send us a script of what you want. And they didn't actually tell me how quickly you'd get it back, but I imagine it was very quick. In half an hour, they'd send you back a 5-minute video, multi-camera of you in essence talking about the current climate. And you could do that every week, every day. And they were just, I guess they charge a fee. Anyway, we turned this down because we were basically being asked to kill our own job. And I had to say to the agency that was asking us, I was like, you do know you're asking us to basically kill our own job. So thank you, but no thank you.
Do you think that's going to take off?
I mean,
would someone want to watch some sort of avatar rather than the actual person saying what they think?
I mean, that's been my feeling on AI in general, in that I personally don't want to watch a film that was written, directed, filmed by an AI, and I don't want to listen to music that was filmed and directed by AI. Recorded and directed by AI. And I think this is my general feeling on it, is why I'm maybe less worried than other people who are in the industry, in that I think that's probably the general population's feeling on it, is that ultimately people won't want that. They want their relationship with the band that they listen to. They want to go watch them live, and they want to buy the merchandise, and they want to listen to it on Spotify. And same with film and TV. I think people don't want to watch AI performers, and they want the relationship that they have from experiencing art visually. So yeah, I'm possibly less worried about it. But saying that, when it comes to the example I just gave you where we turned down the work, I think that probably will happen. And so if you're a production company who's in that space making those type of ads, as the corporate talking head space, then I think I would be very worried. The thing is that we're not in that space. We're in a very creative space where it takes Jack and I days and days and days of script writing and idea generating and storyboard drawing and everything else to come up with what we think are good ideas that help brands put out their messaging. And I don't know if people have used AI creatively, but it's just not good. Like rather lazily, every now and again, you'll ask ChatGPT to help pump up a script, or you're in a hurry, so you just want it to support you in some capacity, and it's no good. It doesn't get humor. It doesn't get humor. It doesn't really get creativity, and it doesn't help you generate ideas that are any use to, I think, to a brand. That's my position, but maybe I'll.
If I can add one thing to that, I think what AI does remind me of a little bit is in our earlier days, we were to some degree having to outrun smaller businesses making content themselves on smartphones, and so you're constantly trying to climb the ladder and get projects that require some real filmmaking. With AI now, I think that's what's happening. Is I think the idea that we should be scared about or worried about films made in their entirety with AI is maybe not so much the issue. It's more that the lower end stuff is being mopped up by small businesses or medium-sized businesses who can now just produce. You see them on Instagram. You can tell that the entire thing is AI generated. Maybe someone has dropped the logo on Photoshop or Illustrator or something. But if we were starting out now, that's where the struggle would be, because there isn't that sort of entry point first rung, or it's not quite as easy to hop on because businesses can make these smaller, cheaper things themselves.
Well, that's happening to sort of entry points right across the economy. Entry-level jobs are affected in the same way because AI is being used to do those more simple tasks very effectively.
Exactly, and that's the problem.
And I suppose the question is, how far up the value chain will that ultimately go? Will it go all the way to the top and do my job, your job, the jobs of the creatives and the commissioners?
Yeah, I mean,
will there be two computers sitting here talking to each other in 20 years' time? Well, possibly. Will they do a better job? I don't know.
I mean, as AI currently sits, I feel like it is already two computers talking to each other, and because they're not that good at it, it's getting worse. So any communication that seems to be having with AI is like they're generating more errors, and
right.
And I
that's
feel,
your experience.
That's my experience.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you're not troubled by it in that way. Well, in a different way that it doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, obviously, we're possibly at the forefront of it, but who knows? And it probably will only get better as time goes on, and that is a worry. But it's
entirely possible it's been overhyped, and the whole thing will come crashing down as something that was sort of the emperor's new clothes.
There's one theory I quite like, which is that AI will break the internet, and that over the last 10 years or so, there's a term, I'm not sure, the enshittification of the internet is something that I think everyone experiences, and that AI will actually hasten that and just make the internet a place that no one wants to be anymore, and maybe we'll all return back to reality. And I quite like that as an idea.
The enshittification.
That is an official term, by the way.
I
didn't just coin
term
that
before. No, but I thought you were going to start going on about the singularity, but you didn't. So, okay, the enshittification of the internet, everyone. that's something that could be coming soon.
Well, it's already happening.
You
but
think it's already on us?
AI
It's
might
upon
knock it on the
us.
head.
So
and
someone
then,
needs to clean out the stables.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you, Hercules? So, okay. So going forwards, Jack, from what I've heard so far, you do more of the sort of choreography, design.
Well, no, I want to be clear.
Creativity.
Certainly, like Greg and I, when it comes to, concepts and creativity, we're very 50-50 on that. But particularly film projects.
We did a piece of music. You wrote it. I mean, you were being very nice to each other. Come on, let's get to the point. I mean, you can't do everything, both of you.
No,
So,
to be
I
fair,
mean, I know it's called nice, but let's try and get some sort of clarity here.
Hands up.
Who does what? I want to know.
To be fair, that campaign, Jack wrote the theme music.
He did. I know that.
Sang the theme music.
He sang it to me.
He did everything. So but the initial ideation was very much collaborative.
So what was the idea? But so this is our Love Mondays campaign. Mondays are working for me. You wrote a song, an earworm, shall we call it, that has been quite widely played, that lots of people know. But how did you get to that point from, I just probably said I want a Love Mondays ad.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think this is probably quite a good illustration of what often happens with projects, which is you talk to a client, they have a history of, of their marketing, and you're wanting to take from that, move it a step forwards. But you're also always playing a game between the two of us of, well, what do we want to do as filmmakers? What would be fun for us, and how can we make those two things overlap? And I mean, I remember, I think we were sat in a pub in London somewhere, and we said, how much fun would it be to do a big Technicolor style movie musical, snippet for Love Mondays? And so you start there, and then you kind of figure out, well, how can we make sure everyone's happy if we do this idea that we'd like to pursue?
So it ends up with a man jumping off a pink bus, a sort of flash mob in Wembley somewhere.
Yeah.
Which is what I remember recording with you, which was great. I mean, it was very interesting, that ad. I mean, I think the music's great. I enjoyed the ad very much. It just went down badly on one program. Do you know what it was?
It was a dance, wasn't it?
It was the dance. Yeah, the people watching darts did not like that ad. I don't know why, but everyone else seemed to quite like it. But there were a lot of angry comments on X, I think, after the darts.
Yeah.
Well, this is why the media buying side is important.
That was quite funny.
Yeah.
Well, now you know.
Not
to play an all singing or dancing ad during the darts.
So if anyone's doing a sort of cabaret style ad, don't put it on in the darts.
Yeah. Just play your standard Heineken and Bet 365 ads. You'll be fine.
Exactly. But overall, it was a successful campaign for us. I'm very happy to share that, so people listening know it worked well.
Right.
But one of the things I liked about it was this multimedia aspect. Because it's very expensive putting ads on television, but if they're supported by out-of-home posters, you get much more value for your money, really.
Well, we saw some out-of-home on the escalators on our way here. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, well, it was Massive Monday just this week, which is the biggest day for job applicants in the year, so we tend to advertise at this time of year.
Oh, very nice.
Very nice, yeah.
So it's been a very busy week. So January and February are very busy for job applications.
It's a lot of fun. That the ad still runs. Obviously, we have worked with a lot of the dancers that we worked with from the very beginning, and we've reused them and taken their characters and given their characters new stories and new motivations across multiple campaigns for you now. And I regularly get WhatsApp messages from them saying, I'm on a massive billboard driving through Birmingham, and I think that's very cool.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad they like them as well.
Yeah, and I like it too, to be honest.
I mean, part of our motivation was to give young people an opportunity in terms of making and performing in these ads, because we want to help people progress in their jobs and careers as a business, and that applies to the people who work with us as suppliers. So I was delighted that you were up for it and had the idea that you had. One of the reasons I liked you in the beginning is you weren't as expensive as the others.
I still think we're very cheap, James.
So you want to watch that, because that's one of the problems with advertising, or especially television.
Yeah, of course.
Expensive it is. I mean, not the making of the ad and then the playing of it, buying 30 seconds.
Yeah,
costs a fortune.
Of course, but I think the thing that we probably excel at beyond TV is that as you say, because we're creating these multi-channel ads for you, we're always thinking, okay, here's the expenditure, here's the spend, how much can we get from this? So, you know, where before maybe you'd only have a TV ad, now we're thinking, okay, well, we have a TV ad, maybe we could have a 30 seconds, but maybe we could have a 40-second cinema ad, and then we could also have the out of home, and we can have social cut downs, and we can have verticals for your phone, and we're already thinking about radio. So, you know, what used to be a huge spend just on a 30-second TV ad, we're now thinking a much smaller spend, but that we can push a lot further. And I think that's beneficial.
Well, there are many more channels now that people consume,
Exactly.
so it makes more sense to do it that way. I suppose that's a big change in the market. So what else are you working on that you can talk about?
What can we talk about?
I mean, I think the big one for us right now is, I mean, we're recording this just after Christmas, so this is a pre-Christmas campaign, but we've been working with Itsu on a few campaigns, which for us are the first time a organic campaign has gone what we would consider sort of mega viral. So across the two campaigns that we shot for them towards the end of last year, they both achieved over 20 million organic views together.
Yeah.
So what was going on?
Well, the one that the big one, and the one that probably most people will have seen because of how viral it did go, was the Willesden Raider Christmas campaign.
I didn't see it, so describe it to me, please.
They're describing it as the anti-Christmas ad. So Itsu struggles with people wanting to go and eat dim sum and noodles pre-Christmas and in January.
It's not the sort of...
No, exactly. People want their turkey and potatoes. They're not thinking about bao buns and chicken katsu. I don't know if they're dishing katsu, but let's say noodles. And
so it's not a good time of year for Itsu.
So it's not a good time for Itsu. Yeah. So that was the emphasis behind the ad. We'd already made an ad with the Willesden Raider, who is a gentleman who went viral sort of 10 years ago for getting a bit silly at a football game. Let's put it like that.
A Willesden Raider. What football game? Who is the Willesden?
Willesden is a very small football team, obviously in North.
Well, I know where Willesden is.
Northeast London. So it's a small
Northwest
league.
London.
Northwest, sorry.
Yeah, it's near Harlesden.
Yeah.
So Willesden have a football team.
They have a small football team. I think they're in a Sunday league, or like one of the smaller leagues. And so he says some funny lines. Like, you got no fans, and lots of people know it. And also lots of people we were speaking to.
So you were aware of this before?
I actually wasn't, and neither were Jack. So
how did it come under your nose then?
So we've been working with a data agency called Block Report, and they basically generate for brands these very heavily data-led reports.
I mean, what you're saying is sort of blowing my mind. So you're trying to sell chicken katsu in December, and you're using a bloke from Willesden Football Club who used to shout abuse at the three opposing fans. Is that the concept?
Yeah, quite honestly, that was the concept. It's quite wild.
It's quite it's quite obscure.
Yeah, it really obscure.
But somehow it hit some note.
Well, it's speaking the language of the internet. It's meme culture, and in this case specifically, it's nostalgia meme culture. So this idea of organic, candid moments with characterful individuals. This has been around for 10, 15 years now, and it's got its own history.
Yeah, okay, so
to draw
organic,
from.
candid moment with this individual. But what actually happens in this meme? Well, I mean, describe.
The original meme.
No, the one you made.
Oh, right.
What happens?
So
why did it go viral? I don't, because I still can't see it in my mind.
I don't know why. I can't think that we have a specific reason when it's viral. But it's kind of what Jack.
Do you mean
said.
The original one? I think we have to describe.
No, Jack, you have to describe it.
Yeah. Okay. So the original video, we're at a low league football match, and someone's winding someone else up. He became known as the Willesden Raider, but he was there, sort of shouting relatively good-natured abuse at the opposing team, and someone comes up to him, they're filming, and his mate sort of prods him a bit and has a little chat, and the guy goes as if he's like maybe going to square up to have a fight with him, but he doesn't mean it. He's joking, but he's playing a part.
He's also 5 foot.
He's
a very small man.
Right.
Yeah.
So
he's in on the
which
joke.
I think plays to the humor of it.
Yeah. So he became like a beloved character, the idea was, okay, so his iconic line was, "You want some?" That then became, "You want dim sum," and that was the in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite simply, it's you want some, you want dim sum, and that's the in. So then the Christmas...
So you then had to go and sell this idea to someone at Itsu.
No, Itsu was already bought into the idea.
So they knew the line, "You want some dim sum."
Yeah.
Oh, they just told you to go away and make it.
Yeah, exactly. So they gave us budget to go away and make it. And then that went very viral. That did super well.
Yeah.
And then pre-Christmas, they then wanted to do another ad. And so that, going back to what I was saying before, Itsu does very badly pre-Christmas in comparison to the rest of the year. So they wanted to make an anti-Christmas ad, against the backdrop of John Lewis spending £5 million on an ad. They wanted to spend 0.01% of that to make a Christmas ad that had the same sort of messaging, but anti. And so this ad is basically the Willesden Raider is trying to hand out dim sum pre-Christmas, saying, you want some dim sum, handing out Christmas to a Christmas fair, a Christmas market. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the whole ad. There's not much.
So if anyone wants to look at this as a sort of study in contemporary marketing that goes viral, where do they find this stuff?
On Itsu's Instagram.
Yeah,
Itsu's
and TikTok.
Instagram.
And TikTok, yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll see that it's
Okay.
got hundreds of thousands of likes across the two. And yeah.
From a creative perspective, what was quite fun about it was the original ad. The objective was to imitate the original video as closely as possible. So even, making the quality very bad, making sure the angles were right, the people walking in the background. I mean, the idea was that you might think you were watching the original artifact, and then to move away from that into a more clearly ad space with the same character was a lot of fun.
And it didn't just get picked up by the general populace who seemed to apparently really connect with it. It also, within, the marketing community, got really picked up as well, and by other brands. Other brands seem to really like it. The retweet comment section below it was all Greg's, Waitrose, etc., all commenting underneath it, getting in on the gag.
So that's good in a way for you, but they don't know who made it.
Other
They just
than-
know it's Itsu's.
Yes, but
So how do you then use that to your advantage as Nice, the company?
Well, ultimately, we then try, if we see that interaction online with them, we will then try and approach their marketing company, the marketing.
So have you had any success with that subsequently?
We've had some good conversations. It hasn't, which honestly I'm kind of surprised by, because the intersection between the person who runs the social media account, who responds to a viral video, to the marketing team within said company, to then a cold email approach seems quite hard. But quite honestly, yeah, we've had some really good responses, and from some relatively big brands. They said, "Oh, that was you. That's great. Let's have a conversation."
Well, I mean, I asked you earlier, how do you stand out? I mean, if you can become known as the people who can make low budget ads that go viral, I'd have thought that's quite a good way to stand out as a person who buys commercials. I'd be interested in meeting people who can do that.
100%. And hopefully that the adverts are sort of slightly charming and have like a fun edge to them that works.
But so this is interesting to me for younger people who are thinking of doing this in the future. I mean, they can almost make these ads now with their phones for next to nothing, can't they?
Yeah, 100%.
And they perhaps should give it a go, which is sort of what you did, Gregory.
Yeah, exactly.
Back in 2011.
I rode the same wave. I mean, I think ultimately that the slight difference to when I started. So I would say that there's sort of been that before. So to give you the history of how we were able to get into this business and how the business has changed over the last 15 years, even no, let's say actually it's actually almost exactly 2 decades. So prior to 2005, the film industry was both film and commercial film was completely siloed, because the technology was just so incredibly expensive. So you were either that filming on film, or you were filming on Alexas and digital cameras, which were just astronomically expensive. So the process by which to hire them and have them on set, you needed cinematographers and cranes and etc. And you needed assistants. It's a whole process. They needed lights. Then you needed a lighting
that was
team.
20 years ago. So.
That was 20 years ago. And then what happened was the 5D came out, which was made by Canon. And that democratized filmmaking in general, because it was a $5,000 camera that created a very beautiful image obviously $5,000 is still a lot of money, but
it's not the same as what you were just describing.
It's not the same as 150,000 plus a huge crew. So what happened then is that, us in 2011, other cameras came out off the back of the 5D that further democratized it. Like, we're being filmed in here by A7Ss, I think, which are made by Sony, which again, I think are a couple of grand each, but they create a very lovely image, and you can shoot a film on that. You can create short films, music videos, whatever it is you want to do. So, you could save up a little bit of money, buy a camera, buy a lens, and you could call yourself a filmmaker, which is kind of what, when we were going to go back, that's what we were doing on the weekend. We bought relatively inexpensive cameras, we bought some cheap lights, and we made videos for social media, and we made short films, and we made music videos. And then what happened is that then you could then make films on your phone. And that was the next democratization of the whole thing. And like, obviously then video has just completely blown up, that everything's video now.
Well, YouTube's huge as well.
YouTube is massive. Advertising on YouTube is massive. Obviously Google is basically the biggest marketing advertising company in the world. That's their main business model. And how that sort of affects us in some ways is that, it has further increased the democratization of filmmaking and allows young people just to go out and make films with their friends. The thing is that Danny Boyle very famously shot the latest 28 years later films on an iPhone. So you can shoot a Hollywood movie on a phone that you can get on a contract for, I don't know, £40 a month. Obviously, he had the whole crew and everything else to make it possible, but he still shot it on the iPhone. And then for him, it was because he shot the previous one on DV cams, which was a beginning of a bit of the democratization of filmmaking, but the image quality wasn't very good. Whereas the 5D's filmmaking quality was amazing. And then to now, where your iPhone film quality can be fantastic. And so my message to people would be like, if you do want to get into making films and TV or advertising, just do it. Just take your phone, go and make a video with your friends. If you've got a friend who's, it seems to me that like everyone wants to be the next Gymshark, so they're making some hoodies, make some cool ads of the hoodies. You can shoot in slow motion on your phone. You can shoot in relatively poor light. There's so much opportunity to make things, and you can edit it in your phone. There's so much you can do there. So it's even more democratized. But for us as filmmakers, I think we've just got slightly lucky, as we were also saying earlier. It's like we rode that 5D wave and we're able to start a business that's been able to supply both Jack and I with a good living and like creating work that we love to make. And then we got there early. So then we were able to be a little bit above the iPhone, phone filmmaking part of the industry. So when people come to you now and you're then talking about the lower level work where people just are happy for an influencer to be shot on their phone, we sort of risen above that, beyond that again, which is great, because I think if you were starting out now and you were expecting to be able to start a very successful marketing agency that primarily shot video, it probably is very hard, because you are competing against other guys and girls coming out of university.
Well, you'd need a good client, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
You need someone to say, I'd like you to do this for me.
Exactly. And we got really lucky in that, we had Reed, and we have the other agencies we work with, and we have other brands that we work with. And, a big part of what we do is fashion, and the
message for sort of businesses is to give young filmmakers a go. I mean, what's to lose, actually?
Yeah,
it's not going to cost you a lot to make some of this content.
No, and that's totally true.
There's
that's
a lot
exactly
of places you can put it out there. And Itsu seemed to have done pretty well from doing this.
Yeah.
On what I imagine wasn't a huge budget.
Yeah.
So the negative from your point of view is there aren't many barriers to entry to this business, but the positives for people thinking of getting going is it's definitely doable.
100%.
There are challenges.
Yeah. But and I think that's when I said we got lucky is we were kind of at the forefront twice, in that I think it would be very hard to make a lot of money now. And obviously there are agencies who are coming through and have done very well. And I think especially the agencies that were very specifically influencer marketing led, a lot of those have sold over the last, 4 or 5 years for tens, hundreds of millions off the back of using influencer marketing successfully. But I think less so production companies like ours, who were sort of video first creative agencies, because there are so many of them now that it's hard to then stand out. So, we just got very lucky to have relationships with people like Reed.
So what's next for you guys?
That's a great question.
I mean, so we're right in the middle of basically having a big rebrand from, as we were saying earlier, from Nice Productions to Nice, because
it doesn't sound that big.
No, I know. Well, it is for us. It is for us.
Well,
it is for
big
us.
rebrands go. What?
A repositioning.
A repositioning. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So where does that take you?
Hopefully to the next level of the success that we want to be at,
But what is that?
I mean, quite honestly, it's sort of 2 or 3 more reads.
So
focusing on the
find more
multi-channel
customers.
Yeah.
Who have multi-channel requirements.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
That's definitely the goal for us. We have other friends in the industry who've built businesses and taken them to that next level from ours, which is, basically for them is 4 or 5 reads, scales. And then once you're at that point, you then have the scalability to take on more people in a new business role, which are obviously very vital, because Jack and I don't really have that skill set, but we've actually taken on our first employee, Frankie, who's our new head of production. So she's been sorting us in a production role, but she's also a fantastic new businesswoman. So she's been doing great work for us doing that. And then you can scale, we definitely needed probably a second full-time editor, because a lot of the time we just get too busy in all the other capacities. But cash flow wise, it's just hard for us to take on a full-time employee when you're just not positive that, especially for us, December, January, February.
Well, yeah, the income is intermittent, I suppose, because it depends when the project's.
It's very cyclical. And we always know that December, January, February are just tough months. There's not that much going on. And then we know that August is completely dead. And I think if you have the cash flow to start taking on employees, you just have to know that over those months, it's not going to make you struggle. And we're nearly there, but for us, it's just like a little bump, and then we'll be safe. And then it's always been like that. I mean, it was, for us, it was doing work for Bentley. That was the first bump for us, because that gave us the kudos to, it was a chicken and egg situation where you couldn't work for big brands and you couldn't work for specifically like big luxury brands without having worked for a luxury brand. So getting to work with Bentley not only gave us the kudos to work with those brands, but it also seemed that it gave us kudos to work for other brands. Like, for example, one of our big clients is the Intercontinental hotel chain, and we've traveled around the world with them and done projects both here in London and across the world. And they're a fantastic client, and we love working for them, and the work we make, we really enjoy. But when we first met them, I don't think they would have spoken to us if we hadn't been already working for Bentley. Because prior to that, we were working for small, medium-sized
So how did you get
startups.
the Bentley gig?
Honestly, nepotism. Jack's mum worked at the agency that...
had a connection to like a driving experiences agency. They used to call them like red letter days.
I don't think that's nepotism. That's just sort of contacts. Just
of course. But
so
exactly. I mean, that's
often,
the more you work in this industry as well, the more you realize that who you know is the biggest part of the whole industry. the most
just
successful.
asking people to introduce you to people.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and it was, they didn't have to take a chance on us. It's not as though they had to work with us just because we'd been introduced to them.
No, of course not.
We had a back catalogue of work that allowed them to trust us, and they didn't have a huge budget because it was a new project for them. But it was also amazing for us because we got to fly out with a crew to Finland, and we were filming the Arctic Circle. And it was also probably for us the first time we worked on a project probably of that scale. So even though the budget wasn't amazing, again, we probably overinvested and took more people than we should. But the end product allowed us then to open more doors, and probably even helped us meet you. And then from there, we were able to scale up, and then we were able to meet Reed, and then Reed was the next scale for us. So, we went from being a video first social agency to then via Reed, we've very much been able to massively push that we're now a full service creative agency.
I mean, it's clearly very important for your plans for the future to win more clients, to build your client base. You've mentioned that contacts are clearly helpful. What other techniques are you using or ideas are you deploying to help win clients? Gregory, if I could ask you.
I mean, it's the hardest part of any industry, I think, is especially when you're sort of in the scaling phases to win new clients. But I think we use all the current techniques available to us, like from cold outreach, which generally speaking we don't think is particularly successful, the most successful thing for us is ultimately asking the clients that we already work with to introduce us and share our work with their wider network. And word of mouth is quite honestly 95% of our business. Very small amount of it comes from SEO. We get a few inquiries a year, which turns into, again, a few jobs via just people. I'm not even sure what they'd be searching because I've never found our website online, but they do come across our desk. So, that is something that we're probably going to look into pushing more into the future. Yeah, LinkedIn proves to be a pretty good place to be able to promote our work. So, for example, the Itsu campaign, we were able to use that to both approach brands and start conversations with other people because of the virality of it, people were posting their own stories about the work. So we were then able to jump on. So, a lot of people were sort of jumping onto the story in the way that worked well for us, where they were saying, look, you don't need to spend £5 million. Here's Itsu's latest campaign, which has probably in some ways gone more viral than John Lewis has for, like I said, 0.0001% of the cost. People were posting messages in a similar way, and then we would jump in. Hey, we were the guys who made that. If you would like to do similar work, get in touch. And that has been really quite successful for us. So, there are lots of other channels and to get new business these days, but nothing is better than word of mouth. Because
it sounds like you really need to be on it, though. You need to be super active and alive to making the most of opportunities as and when they arise.
100%.
Super, because you're right. Every business needs to be good at sales if it's going to succeed. And my other question that's sort of in my mind is this creative process. I'm very interested in ideas, where they come from and how you develop ideas. Because ideas are so important, again, to every business, to innovation. And to make a good campaign, you're going to need good ideas. How do you, I don't like the phrase ideate. I don't know where it comes from, but it's a sort of corporate speak, so we won't use that word. But how do you generate ideas and make sure that you get the best thinking creatively?
Well, I think, we've now got 10 plus years of doing it together. So you might go away and have a few ideas, by yourself and make a few notes and have a few, things that you might ideally like to create. But then it's about sharing it between the two of us and, maybe picking holes or, strengthening things here.
But what is that process? I mean, how do you do that? Do you go into an office or do you go to
we've
a
never
pub,
had
or
some...
what do you do?
It's not formalized at all, is it? I mean,
No.
we've known each other a very long time.
Sometimes we do think about formalizing it a bit more, but a lot of the time it just...
So it's informal. I mean, I want to
Absolutely.
understand this because it's sort of
Absolutely.
important. Where do ideas come from? So yours is an informal process. based on a long period of knowing each other.
Yeah. And, we'll create a shared doc where we'll throw down ideas, however silly, however fun, however serious, depending on what the campaign is. And I think I sort of generate my best work sort of as I'm falling asleep or when I wake up first thing in the morning. I do kind of have those creative epiphanies, and I'll just get on the Google Doc and I'll throw down the idea, no matter how jumbled or gargled it is, and then message Jack, like, when you're up, have a look. And I'm
always up later, apparently. Yeah.
Sounds like it. Yeah. So you create a sort of repository for thoughts.
Yeah,
and it's not like someone has an idea and you go, "Oh, that's not very good." It sounds to me that
we are quite mean to each other.
You are, but it sounds to me like you give enough space for the ideas to sort of be left to cogitate. And you take ideas seriously, because I think that a lot of ideas get sort of killed off too early by people. I've observed.
Well, you're trying to work out. There's two main branches of whether or not something's interesting or captivating or fun or whatever it is, and then whether or not you can pull it off. So you got to make sure you've got both of those things.
Not the execution of the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. A lot, and probably in our relationship, a lot of the time, one of us will throw down an idea, and then the other will be like, "Okay, but are they going to give us £1 million? Because this is £1 million idea."
But this is a reason for having a partnership, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't, if you hadn't invited Jack to join you and Jack hadn't wanted to, you wouldn't have been able to do that on your own, Gregory.
No, you've been lost at sea.
Lost at sea. So you might have been in your own head, I suppose. But it's much more. There's a sort of dynamism by being a partnership that you'd have missed out on.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, we have a great working relationship, and it works really well.
So someone who wants to make a similar journey or start a creative business, in many ways, should be looking for the right partner to spar off, generate ideas with, and work with over a long period of time, because there are benefits arising from that. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, from back in the day when I used to, attend all these startup events, the conversation there was always about finding the right partner. In those spaces, it was all about finding the right technical partner. So if you were coming up, whatever it was, whatever the app was, if you were more of the creative ideas person, they were always talking about find the right technical partner for you. And I think that's probably true of us, is that possibly I'm more of the technical partner and Jack's more of the creative partner. But together, my creative side complements both of our creative side, and my technical side probably complements Jack's creative side more. So like between the two of us, we cover a lot of ground by having capabilities across the board.
And that's on the ideation side, but also all the way through. I mean, like on set or on location, filmmaking is such a collaborative pursuit, and quite a large part of it is checking everyone else and making sure that problems have been spotted before they become problems. So whether it's something as simple as in that last shot he's looking left, so you better make sure that we do that, or if it's something more interesting, but half the time you're just politely and quickly going, actually no, so that's not right, we need to do this or we need to do that. So it goes all the way through.
So if people want to see your work or find out more about you, where should they go?
nice-productions.com.
But
that might change, surely.
Wait, because we're going to do a big website relaunch, and then but obviously now go to nice-productions.com. But we are.
Have you got nice.com?
No, I wish. I think obviously you'll know this, but we looked at buying new website addresses.
Yes.
And Nice AI, I think, was £350,000.
Well, that's much more expensive than Read AI.
I'm sure it was, because obviously Nice is a bit more universal.
Your name is more desirable, you reckon? Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad.
But we do own Nice.Productions, and even though we are moving just to Nice singularly, we're going to move to Nice.Productions as our primary website.
But the most important thing is people know how to find you, and there's examples of your work there.
Yeah, exactly. So Reed's on there, Bentley's on there, the Intercontinental's on there.
See what you do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both very much for coming in to talk to me this afternoon. I always end with the same two questions. I'm thinking I might ask one of you one and one of you the other. Or do you want to both answer both? Both of you can answer both. So the first question, which I ask all my guests, because at Reed we love Mondays, you know that, is what gets you up on a Monday morning? And I'm going to start with you, Jack.
It's a lot easier to get up when we've got a fresh, juicy project, especially when you're at the beginning of it and there's all the potential and you're figuring out what you can do with this budget that someone's trusted you with. And like we were saying earlier, particularly with filmmaking, with marketing campaigns, it's this cycle. And the earlier phase of it, when there's all that potential ahead, it's probably the most exciting part for me.
That's what you love. What about you, Gregory? What gets you up on a Monday morning?
Quite honestly, I get up very early and go to the gym. That's what gets me up.
What's very early for you? Just so
That's
we know.
just showing off.
I try to leave between 6 and 6:30.
Right.
Yeah, and then
I was up doing a bit of training at 6:30. So yeah, good for
there
you.
go.
So the next question and the last one is in my interview, but why you? Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? I'll ask you this first, Gregory.
In 5 years' time, quite honestly, looking at the other businesses who similar in size and scale, I would really like to be at the point where we had 10-ish employees and we were making just bigger and better ads that people hear about and love.
And I'll be right by your side, Gregory.
So you want the same thing, do you, Jack?
Absolutely, of course.
Well, that's good because you're a partnership. It'd be a problem if you didn't. So you want the same. Well, that's fantastic. Well, I wish you every success, and I hope you achieve that objective. I see no reason why you shouldn't. And it's very nice of you to come in and talk to me. And also, thank you for making our commercials, which has been a pleasure working with you. And I'm very happy to endorse you to anyone listening as a good partner. So thanks
so much.
very much.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.